Hey everybody, it's your favorite gentleman, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today you all are in for a very special treat. I have a very special lady coming to the stage today. And she's going to take us to our business, our financial business, to the next level. You won't want to miss 1 second of this powerhouse speaker. Stay tuned, stay with us, stay engaged. You won't want to miss this powerhouse lady coming to the stage. Here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today we have Miss Angel Radcliffe. She is an author, speaker, business consultant, and award-winning financial educator with 10 plus years of experience behind her belt. And in corporate finance and technology, this woman is multi-talented. She's driven by a passion for financial literacy. Miss Radcliffe works within communities to teach the strategies of budgeting and financial management for consumers and entrepreneurs and business owners alike. Miss Radcliffe has been featured on Business Insider, Fox News, BuzzFeed, Black Enterprise, Self Magazine, The Huffington Post, Experian, and American Express. And she's here today on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show to help us do better business. Help me welcome to the stage the incredible, the amazing Miss Angel Radcliffe.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. It was such a great introduction.
It is a fantabulous introduction. You did all the work, so thank you for giving back. I appreciate you very, very much for taking time out of your busy day to be with us here today on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. So we appreciate you. One more round of applause, y'all. Miss Angel, diving right in. Successful people have successful habits. And I love to ask a question. One of the questions that I always ask is, what's one thing that you have seen as you coach, you mentor, you speak, and you travel around the world, speaking and coaching other business? What is one thing that you've noticed that has led other businesses to be successful? And people personally, what habits do they have that you coach to and you teach to successful people to have incorporate into their life so they can be a success as well?
Well, Marcus, that's a great question. And I'm so glad that you asked that, because that's a question I receive so many times. I always say you have to have the ambition to move forward and pursue your goals. But alongside that ambition, you have to be resilient, because as we're moving forward and we're trying to achieve our goals in our career, in our business, or our personal lives, doors will be shut in our face. I always say the things that are worth having, they don't come so easy. So you may be told no several times. There's a great person who I met years ago who said, in order to reach that yes, sometimes you may be told 250 no's. And at times it's true. So it's like you have to be willing to keep going when those doors are closing in your face. And so resiliency and ambition are the top two.
That makes sense. That's absolutely true, right? The resiliency and the ambition to keep going. You can coach to a lot of things. You teach to a lot of different things. But one thing that you can't give someone, I can't give you drive. I can't give you motivation. You have to find that within yourself. And so that's very true.
Exactly.
Very, very true. I love that. I love that. One of the things, talking about goals, you did something that is truly phenomenal. You were able to save $100,000 in 18 months. Can you break that down for us? How did you do it? What's the secret tea? Is it a stock investment, a trade that you did? What's the tea there?
Well, it's a combination of those things, along with those two key indicators I just mentioned, ambition and resiliency. So I will tell you, my journey in finance has not been pretty. Prior to becoming a financial educator, I had financial difficulties. It was more of that live and that learn. I didn't grow up understanding money. I didn't grow up having someone who could teach me about saving or teach me about credit. If my mom ever sees this, she'll get really mad. She hates when I throw her into my stories, but my mother never had a credit card until she was 50 years old. So when I was growing up, she couldn't teach me about credit. She didn't have it. I constantly saw her working 2-3 jobs at a time just to survive. It was working to survive. It wasn't working to save. And so when I went off to college, that I often found myself in those same situations, working to pay bills, really working to survive. It was like, what is the savings? Really understand the concept of that until I was an adult, like out on my own and wanting to do things. And I was like, well, I don't really have the money. And it was always like, okay, let's put it on the credit card. And then you're ending up in credit card debt. And it was almost like everything just hit the fan. And I was like, all right, how do I get myself out of this situation? I remember asking people at my job that were older than me, have candid conversations during lunch, finding out they were in poor financial situations. They were unable to guide or mentor me, which I guess that really tore down that whole illusion of, thinking that people are, just because people are older than you, that they have knowledge, because that's not always the truth. And I started to do some research and teaching myself about saving, managing my credit, and I built a small savings of $5,000 and then $10,000. And it's probably the most I'd ever saved was $10,000 up until I'd say like my late 20s, early 30s. And most of it, I would say, was coming from a bonus from work, sad to say. But I had this goal, I will tell you, in corporate America, I've left corporate America 2 times, one time involuntarily and one time voluntarily. I was laid off when I was 25 years old, and it's the worst time of my life, the worst thing that ever happened, because I had no savings. And I was really, we know unemployment is not a lot of money.
Never been, never will be.
Right. I was left with the unemployment, and I was left just really trying to fend to survive. And I've always had this hustle and ambition to be an entrepreneur. I've had 3 businesses over the last 15 years. And fast forward, there's so much nitty gritty in between there, but fast forward to 2015, I decided to leave voluntarily. It was more of, I don't like what I'm doing anymore. I worked in corporate finance for 7 years and decided to leave. And I was like, I want to do something different. I just wasn't sure what it was, but I knew I had personal goals. I knew I wanted to brand myself. I knew I wanted to write some books. And it was all of like, how do I do this? And of course, we have to surround ourselves with the right people. And getting into that and using some of my savings and bootstrapping my business, I found myself sort of living that theme that I remember growing up with my mom, was like working to survive, not working to save. And I was like, okay, I'm in a rut. I don't like doing this. Some people love that entrepreneur lifestyle where they're bootstrapping and they're like, I'm never going back to corporate. I was like, I don't like being broke. I realized that. I was like, I don't like it. So whatever I have to do, if it's go back to work, I will do it. But at the same time, I said, I'm not going to give up on the things that I would like to do personally. I'm not going to give up on my goals, my passion of teaching financial literacy, my passion of working with other business owners. So I understood that there's some sacrifice there. Yes, I wouldn't be able to work on my business full time. But I said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do something that I like, but I'm also going to build a savings. And I had the goal. I set the goal then. I said, if I go back to corporate, the goal is to save $100,000. And initially, it wasn't to go back for a long term. It was to go back to meet that savings goal.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So I said, I told my friends, and they laugh at me to this day, right? Because I'm still in corporate, obviously, and I've met the goal. But they say, I told them, I said, okay, when I save $100,000, I feel like that's a really good cushion. Because, of course, when you're in business, there are times where you make money. There are times where you don't make money. And I think every entrepreneur has experienced that. There's some dry months. Some people don't like to admit it, but I'm a very transparent person. There are times where you have the good months and you can have the 5-figure months. And there are some months where you're like, all right, what's going on here?
True.
So I said, I feel like that would be a good enough cushion where I wouldn't have to worry about, something crazy happening. And I did it. I was giving myself 2 years, but I was able to do it in 18 months. And the way I did it was sacrificing. So laying the goal out in front of me, having the ambition to achieve the goal, being resilient and knowing, okay, this is something that I want to do. I'm going to have to sacrifice so many things, such as I cut my cable, I cut getting those manicures. I was doing my own hair. I started investing. I maxed out my 401k. We had an option to invest into stocks at our employer's program, in our employer stock program, where we were receiving a 15% stock discount. So I was investing into that program as well, maximum of $15,000 a year. And I was saving 40% of my take-home pay. Now, oh, right?
What?
Yes, 40% of my take-home pay. And when we look at traditional savings, the traditional formula, the 50-30-20 rule, as most people will say, no more than 50% of your net income, which is your take home, should go towards needs, no more than 30% towards wants, and save 20%. I often feel as though the 30% is a tad bit much for wants. Those are the things such as going to the movies or out to eat or vacationing. I'm like, who spends that much a month on these frivolous things? And so I said, if I could, and I looked at my budget, and there were times throughout my life where I actually had, but I said, if I could like waste money, it's wasting money on things that you're never going to see again. Why can't I take this money and save it and invest it? So I set my goals, turned my goals around, and I said, I'm going to be able to save more money. Yes, I'm sacrificing maybe a little bit of my social life, maybe sacrificing some vacations, maybe I'm sacrificing,
Pedicures,
nice women like to do.
Starbucks, yeah, pedicures, facials.
Yeah, Starbucks. Yep. But
you sacrificed all of that to hit that goal. And
yes.
so the purpose of that goal was for a cushion, just to have a nice cushion, or that was for a cushion to feed into the business and back up your business ventures?
So it was, the purpose of the goal was to have the cushion, to have the savings, because I wanted to go back out as a full-time entrepreneur. But in that first year and a half, after meeting that goal in that year and a half, I realized, and I would say I shifted careers. I went from finance to technology. I loved what I do. And I was like, I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm learning new things. We don't see a lot of women in technology. We don't see a lot of minority women in technology. I had so many of our youth who were messaging me on LinkedIn, who were asking me, how can they get into this career field? I had people reaching out to me, asking me to speak on panels. They were like, we don't see this many women or this many Black women who are working in this particular field. Can you come to our school and speak? Can you speak to these college students? And so not only was I enjoying what I was doing, but I realized that was also making a difference. So it was also becoming a passion of mine, similar to the financial literacy. And I was like, I really like what I do. Now, when I worked in corporate finance, I hated my job. But so it's like, and I was like, well, I like the company. It's a great company I work for. It's a global tech firm. And so I stayed, and I managed a formula. Of course, you can't do everything on your own. I had to also build a team. So I had to build out a team of people who can help me do certain things and change out my business structure and my strategy and the things that I wanted to focus on for the revenue streams for my business. And so that did take some time. I will say that first year was a struggle. It was so difficult because I was also traveling. I will add that into the mix. I was traveling for work.
Jeez.
Traveling for work 4 days a week, in addition to running a business, and had all these ideas on the calendar, and still people wanted me to speak at their event. And, I'm working on collaborations and influencer campaigns and a million other things. And by the time I would get home, I'm like, how in the heck am I managing this? And so the first year was very difficult, but figuring out that formula to where now it works. And now there's multiple things that I'm working on, including a podcast, and it flows. So so initially it was set out just to be that cushion. And then and I will tell you, this was only 2 years ago where I saved that amount. So I've surpassed that amount now, and I've set goals to where I would like to retire, where people say financial independence, retire early. If I say, okay, if I stay in corporate for the next 10 years and save X amount, I can retire off of X amount of dollars and live off the returns. And so that's sort of one of my goals now. But people often laugh. My friends will laugh at me. They said, you said you were only staying for 2 years, and now it's been almost 4. And I'm like, I like what I do.
Take that, y'all. Miss Angel Radcliffe, y'all, spilling the tea. Take that. We have one quick commercial break. You guys don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Good day, podcast listeners. This is your boy, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I wanted to let you guys know that we will be rolling out a new feature and adding a join sponsor button next to the subscriber button here at the bottom of your screen. Once you click the button, it will display 3 membership levels. Gentleman Gentry, which is our entry level, Duke Duchess, which is our season level, and the Emperor and Empress, which is our most sophisticated level, which you will receive unique perks and benefits at each differing level and gain access to our community tab. We will also be sharing polls, upcoming events, and interviews, as well as receive feedback from our sponsors directly. Your support helps me find new and exciting guests to bring to the stage live. Well, in order to get the higher end speakers, it requires, you guessed it, money. So thank you for tuning in to my channel. And if becoming a sponsor sounds good to you, then select the join button below and choose your desired sponsor level. Let's continue to grow and serve the future of generations of men and women to come. Love you guys. Bye. We are back. Welcome to Gentleman Style Podcast Show. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we have the incredible Miss Angel Radcliffe, and she just spilled the tea on how she has transitioned. She saved $100,000. She made a goal. She had resilience and ambition and drive to save $100,000 to build up that safety net and leave corporate America and powerhouse through it and build her brand and give back to her community, which she does by speaking and traveling to college students. If you missed that, go back, tune back in, and check out this powerhouse speaker on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show today. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Miss Angel, how can people you have the formula, you figured out the formula, you were doing it all. You were speaking, you were working, you were building your brand, you were building your businesses, you're doing all these different things, and you talk about it. You mention the formula. How can people manage a successful business while maintaining their day jobs and working in corporate America? Can you share some of that and how people can do it, and how that young boy, that young mom, that young girl, that young woman out in the audience can do it too?
Sure. So first you have to really formulate what your business goals are, and then formulate and think about these different revenue streams that you would like to have for your business. So if it's something that's automated, such as if you have an ebook, that's nothing that you have to maintain, or digital courses, that's nothing that you have to maintain. But of course, if you're doing something such as podcasting and you're going to monetize that, or if you are having business consultations, you may need to have someone who's scheduling, someone who's potentially doing some marketing for you on the back end. So once you've kind of identified those goals and you've identified those revenue streams, you have to build a team, because you can't do it all on your own. And that was something that was very difficult for me to understand, because I feel like I will say I am the big sister. I have siblings younger than me. I've always been in charge of everything growing up. And so I've always been the person telling everyone what to do. So that definitely comes natural to me. But I will say that sometimes I don't like everyone knowing what I'm doing. Wait a minute, I don't need you telling my business secrets. So finding people that you can trust, that you can work with.
That's key. That's key. People you can trust. And you're right. No one has reached the top by themselves. No one has reached successful new heights and new business ventures by themselves. You need a team. You need support, and you need to get the right people, not just anybody, right? Don't go and get the random Joe Blow off the street and now trust him with all your financial decisions. You got to find the right people.
So you want to make sure people are not going to take your proprietary information and share it with other people in social media. There's so many entrepreneurs out here in the world. There's so many quote unquote influencers. And so I will say, if you're looking for someone that's an admin or someone who's creating social media campaigns, a lot of these people work with multiple entrepreneurs, multiple influencers. And so you have to make sure that you have those contracts in place, non-disclosure agreements, and make sure that you do some background checking on the people that you're working with. So
Facts. Big facts. Hashtag facts. I wish I could give you a microphone so you could drop it right now, but I'll say that for next show. I'll say that for next time. You touched on this earlier, and you gave some blueprint here. I want you to land this plane here. You, doing everything, budget save. I feel like people are torn, right? People are like, do I budget? Once I figure out the budgets, how much do I save? And you mentioned the 40-50-20 rule. But there are other avenues, especially, and
50,
that's
30,
hard to do.
20.
Say
50,
again.
30, 20.
50, 30. Thank you. Thank you. You can tell my budget is off, right? My budget is off. But so thank you for that. Thank you for correcting me. But there are other avenues, and that's hard to do when you're living check to check. What advice would you give to that person that's living check to check? They don't have those other revenue streams yet. They don't have the ebook. They don't have the online courses. How can someone start today and start saving or budgeting their money so that they can start building up that revenue stream?
That's a great question, Marcus. And this is another question I receive every time I'm at a speaking event or a virtual event, because some people will say, it's impossible for me to save money, or I can't save money. And I said, everyone can save money. You have to take a look at what you're spending your money on, look at the items that you can reduce and the items that you can remove. Those are the two key things you have to do before starting a budget. And I outline that in my Ballin' on a Budget workbook. It's like writing it down on paper. Maybe there's something that you're paying for that you absolutely don't need. And it's like determining the difference between a need and a want, because I had a lady argue me down at an event one time to tell me that getting her hair done was a need. I was like, no, it's not. It's a want.
It's not?
It's something that you want to do. That's not a cost of living. That doesn't go into like your necessities to live. So it's like, maybe it's reducing, there's some ladies who spend enormous amounts getting their hair done, $200-$300 a month. So think about maybe if you sacrifice going natural, getting your hair braided, or doing your hair yourself, you can save a ton of money. Maybe it's doing it for 6 months out of the year. Because of course we're women, we want to look nice. We want to have some sort of pampering, but you have to be willing to make some sort of sacrifice to get to the next level. And I'm not forgetting about the guys out there. There's guys that love their electronics. Maybe you need to cut back on the habit. Maybe it's streaming services that you're paying for. Look at subscription services. Not everyone, majority of people have like an Amazon, a Hulu, Netflix, something. But if you total up the amount for every single subscription service that you're paying for, you may very well be paying anywhere from $100 to $200 a month on various subscription services. So maybe, do you really need 5 different streaming services? Can you live with one? Hey, I mean, you have to really just look at items. What can you reduce? What can reduce? What can you remove? And eating out is a big one. I've looked at budgets where people who are not making that much money, people who are making $30,000, $40,000 a year, yet somehow they're spending $600 a month eating out.
That's somehow
a lot of money for one person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of money. So it's like, maybe you don't need to be at everyone's happy hour or on these different social.
Skip happy hours, skip the brunch. You don't need mimosas every Sunday. You can give up a mimosa or two. You're right. And you're right. That's what you talked about earlier, right? Being resilient, having drive, having ambition, and having that goal in front of you, and knowing that you need this to stay ahead. And so that's very powerful. I want to address Miss Erica Holmes. She's a VIP sponsor of the show. And so thank you for your donation, Miss Erica. That helps us find unique and powerful guests like Miss Angel. So thank you for that contribution. It helps very, very much. I appreciate it. And so, Miss Angel, you had a runway budget for your business of $100,000. That is a huge number to most people. But because you're a financial expert and you're a financial coach, what is the average emergency fund should someone have in their personal lives? How much money do you recommend to your clients? And I know every budget is different, right? Every budget, every household is different. But can you give like a range of where they should shoot for? Give my audience a goal. What's our goal?
Sure. So I will start off by saying no two budgets are the same. So you are correct there. Never compare your budget to someone else's, because what someone else is considering in their needs, wants, and savings is totally different. So if someone else is only contributing $100 a month towards their 401k and investments, that doesn't mean that you should do the same. That doesn't mean that you can do more or less. It's your financial situation is your financial situation. So let's start there. When we're talking about savings, so let's just stick to the personal savings because business is totally different. That's going into capital. But for what you should have for that personal savings, for that emergency fund, I don't want to give a number because, again, everyone's budget is differently, but you should definitely have 3 to 6 months saved in an emergency fund. So 3 to 6 months of expenses. And let me say, if we go back and look at last year, 2020, look at COVID, look at how many people lost their jobs. Some people, it took more than 3 to 6 months to find a job. Some people are still out of work. So that's where now I'm pushing the narrative is you need to look at saving a little bit more than that 3 to 6 months suggested savings. And one of the things with me really pushing out the story this year of saving the $100,000, I would like to recreate what that emergency fund looks like for consumers, because so many people will say, I have 3 months of a savings. And then they'll say, well, now I can go on these vacations. I can buy a Louis Vuitton. I can, I don't know, buy your Gucci belt or whatever the heck they're going to buy, something frivolous. And I said, no, you should keep saving. You should keep investing. Just because you have that emergency fund doesn't mean the saving stops there. And that's where so many people get it confused.
I got to get rid of Gucci? No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding, y'all. Don't take me serious. I don't have any Gucci products yet. Let's talk about the book. Balling on a Budget. So we're talking about Gucci and we're talking about budgeting. How can you spill some tea from the book, and where can people get on the book? What should people expect when they buy this book, Balling on a Budget? What should they get out of this book?
So I'll start off by saying it's a workbook. And so that's a misconception I get all the time. Like it's not a book that you read. It's going to be a workbook. So it's actually requesting you to take action as you're going through, and I'm sharing knowledge in different ways, not only that you can save money, but you can add ways to your revenue stream. It's really one of those drivers that's going to help you outline your budget on paper and then turn it to an electronic format, because that's really where you should start, is writing it down on paper, visualizing. I always say think back to a vision board and how you visualize things, and then taking a look there, monitoring it maybe for 1 month, and then turning it into an electronic budget, which I always recommend the app mint.com, which I've been using for the last 14 years. But yeah, definitely, it just really helps you prepare your mindset and getting ready to actually get on track to start a budget.
Love it.
I would say some people watching may already have a budget, but think about your children, think about your friends, your family. There's so many people who really need to understand this. And I wish financial literacy was taught in the school systems, because I gifted that workbook to my nieces and nephews who are between the ages of 12 and 15. And like, they look at it and they laugh all the time. And, they have jobs now and they're like, wait, I'm balling on a budget. So it's like a joke for them, but they're actually learning.
I love that. Great title. I love that. Balling on a Budget, y'all. It's a workbook. So this isn't just something you can read, you can skim through. You're going to actually get tests. You're actually going to get, not tests, but you're going to get tasks and assignments. You're going to have to do some work, right? To get to that goal, to get through those audacious goals that we may have, right? And so, but we want to be practical. And so that's what this book lays out. Perfect. That's powerful. Miss Angel, we talked about budgeting. I think we beat budget to death. I want to talk about business. Business, everybody seems to be focused. I feel like in my inbox, they're popping up every single day. Work on your credit. I can fix your credit. Let me fix your credit. Why is credit important? And when should I introduce that to my overall financial picture? I got the emergency fund. I got the 3 to 6. Well, I got the year. I got 12 months because COVID was terrible. I got the 12 months of emergency fund because that COVID just taught us all that there's no such thing as enough. Everybody was dipping into their savings, 401ks, you name it. They were digging in grandma's mattress for money. What I've done all of that. When should I incorporate credit, and why is credit should be a part of my financial structure?
So I always say you can start learning about credit the same time you're learning about a budget. And for people, some people do not have like the financial acumen to do both, and that's fine. So once you nail the budget, you can move on to credit, or vice versa. But you should always be checking your credit report. Everyone should be checking it. There's there's definitely a ton of sites and apps where you can access your free credit report. Annualcreditreport.com gives you your free credit report from all 3 credit bureaus every year. There's Credit Karma, there's Credit Sesame. I always say download those apps, check what your score is. And it's so important to make sure no one's stealing your identity, but even more important that your accounts are reporting correctly. And you have to understand what even makes up your credit report. So it's going to be all of your personal information, your payment history, your account history. So how much credit you're using, your utilization. Some people don't understand that concept. So think about the first time you ever received a credit card in the mail, probably when you're 20 something years old.
I don't want to recall it.
Years old.
It was a bad, that was, yeah, I got
and
a
they gave you
$5,000.
like $1,000. And the first thing you did was go out and spend that entire $1,000. And, you know, we didn't know anything about utilization. Like you're at 100% utilization. Now you're high risk in the eyes of the lender. But it's really understanding the basics and then getting more into, okay, what do all of these things mean? How often should I be using my card? Because some people will apply for a card and never use it. And then now the lender snatches it back. The lender's not receiving any sort of benefit. Or it's like, should I pay the minimum payment? Some people get stuck in that mindset of that $25 a month, $30 a month, not understanding how fast that interest builds up. Or understanding the impact of if I'm paying off my balance in full. Some people have this mindset of saying credit is bad. And I want to dispel that because credit is not bad. It's how you use credit. There's a way to utilize credit where you can make it beneficial for you. And I want to give an example. When I use my credit cards, I use them to pay my monthly bills. So typically I use my cards that offer some sort of reward program or cash back. So these are bills that have to be paid on a monthly basis anyhow that I would potentially like pay from my checking account or with my debit card. I have everything set up on auto pay through various credit cards, whoever has the best cash back promo going on. And then now I pay that card off in full every month. So that in turn helps to not only build my credibility with the lender, but it's also keeping my score higher and my utilization lower.
Ooh, spilling all the financial tea. This is why I had to get her on the show, y'all. This is why I had to get Miss Angel on the show. We have one more quick commercial break. Stay tuned. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I'm Marcus Norman, bringing fresh vibes to hot topics surrounding culture, relationships, business, finance, sex, dating, faith, and everything in between. Whether you're into passive income opportunities, trending topics and useful relationship tips, or dynamic guest speakers, there's something for everyone. You can expect all that and more every week. If you're down with this content, then consider joining our growing community by subscribing to Gentleman Style Podcast and smash the bell to get on our VIP list. Your support means the world. Thanks for watching. Link to my channel.
We are back, y'all. We went for a quick commercial break. Thank you for spilling that tea. Miss Angel, also too, can you touch on something we missed? Can you touch on those cashback rewards? Because you said you use those cashback rewards. You put your regular expense. I want to get this straight. You use your regular daily expenses, your mortgage, the things that you have to pay anyway, and you use them for rewards. Can you speak about that?
Yes. So I use my card to pay everything that I would be paying on a monthly basis anyway. So that's light bill, paying the guy who mows my lawn, paying for my house alarm, pest control, like so many different things. Think about all the bills we pay for. So at the end of the year, this is what I do to treat myself. I cash in all of those credit card rewards. It's typically, it depends on how much I've utilized throughout the year, what the promos were. Couple $100 to $1,000 or so, and I buy myself something nice. So maybe something that I've been wanting to buy myself that I did not want to use money out of my regular budget for. So this is a way to really reward yourself without taking that money away from what's going into your savings. Someone said Gucci.
Use that Gucci. You're right. That's what I was thinking. That's what I would do.
I don't own any Gucci, but I will say last year I took the money and I bought myself like a nicer perfume. So something that I'm not going to go in the store and pay $300 for out of my own money, but hey, I'm going to use this cash back. And then on the flip side, maybe there is a time where I don't necessarily want to buy myself anything nice. So now I can take that money and invest it into stock or invest it into my Roth account. So it's free money for you to do whatever you want, but it's also a way to treat yourself.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Spilling the financial tea. I never even thought about that. Saving my rewards to the end of the year to treat myself and use the credit card's money, not my own money, right? That's the money I earn throughout the year. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
So ladies, guys, you want that Gucci belt? Use your credit card reward.
Absolutely. And then give it to your lady. Treat your lady nice. Like, hey, girl, I did this all for you. Knowing full well that it was based off of your expenses that you had anyway. That's slick. I'm going to use that all day. This is touching on a book. This is from Miss Erica Holmes. She asks, is the workbook, your book, Balling on a Budget, couple friendly, especially for newlyweds, new life events, marriage, new home, and businesses?
So I will say it is not formulated specifically for couples, but there are pages in the workbook that can be combined. So if it's more than one budget that needs to be created, you can use it to allocate it for a couple. There's no chapter in there that specifically targets marriage or a new home, but I have a new book that will be out January of 2022. So make sure you follow me for those particular updates. And so what's coming next?
Stay tuned. You got to stay with us. So you got to connect. Great question, Miss Erica. Great question. And that's what was needed. You touched on women in STEM. Women in STEM, children in STEM, our future. You coach, you mentor, and you teach at colleges, universities all across the United States and globally. And one of the things, what's the one more piece? What's the one nugget that you would give to that young boy, that young girl who's growing up in an economy? The national average, our debt crisis is just astronomical. It's scary. The student loan debt is scary. And these kids, they're coming into a society, into a world that's just riddled with bad money decisions and bad financial decisions all over. What advice would you give to them, that young boy or young girl? What do you say to those college students?
I would say for them to, this is going back to the first question of the podcast, when laying out their goals, being resilient, because this year and last year definitely reminds me of the 08-09 recession. And that was around the time when I was laid off. I went through a layoff at a very early age, and it was like crushing being a young adult. So for people who are graduating last year, this year, and there may not be those normal opportunities, you have to don't let the no's get you down. Build your network. One thing I tend to see, a common theme with my mentees and people that I come across who are graduating from college, even up to the age of 25, 26, 27 years old, they tell me they don't like to network. I said, you have to network in order to be successful. Your network is your net worth. And I feel as though so many people fail in that department, especially minorities. And that's a whole nother conversation. We can have a whole podcast on that. But it's like, I try to instill some of the things that I've learned, because I wasn't the perfect person coming out of college. I learned from my mistakes, and I like to use those lessons and moments sort of as a teachable moment for my mentees. And I'm very transparent. I think that's what they really appreciate, is that I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Most professionals will tend to sugarcoat, or they don't tell you the real story. I'm like, nope, let me tell you what exactly happened to me and how I failed. Because if you don't share your failures with someone else, you're not really being the true you. So I share those failures, and I hope that they will take lessons from it, but really telling them to build their network and just be resilient in this time, and ask questions, reach out to someone on LinkedIn. You never know who's willing to take 15 minutes and pour into you, or who can make that connection for the company that you're trying to get into, or maybe it's a new skilling program, or give you some insight. So you have to speak up, make your voice heard.
Very true. Very, very true. How can my audience connect with you? How can we grow with you? And how can we learn more?
Sure. So the audience can follow me on all social media platforms at Miss RMBA, MISSRMA, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I am probably most active on my Instagram stories. If you follow me on Facebook, the Facebook page, there's also a Facebook group called Milestones, Motivation, and Money. It's also related to a podcast by the same name. So we're closing out season 2 of the podcast in October. The podcast is mostly about business, resiliency, motivation, finance, of course. So it's on all podcasting platforms. So make sure you subscribe there. Someone had a question about marriage, new home ownership. There are definitely some episodes that do touch base on that. And I just purchased my first home last year. And so there's I talk about that a few times on the podcast and some of the things that I went through. So very interesting process, but new topics or new shows drop every week. Also visit my website, angelradcliffe.com. And from there can link up, send me a message. And then stay tuned because I have several projects coming up, 2 new books that are coming out next year. One is Developing a Money Mindset. It's a holistic approach to money management. And I can't really tell you the name of the other just yet. But
I was excited too. I was on the edge of my seat.
Stay tuned. It's I tell you right now, it's a financial affirmation book, so it's going to be really good. But I have some partnerships and collaborations that are coming up. I actually just filmed with a learning partner last week for a course on budgeting, but it's corporate budgets. So that should be dropping the end of September, and a lot of new projects and collaborations. So follow me and you'll see a lot of things that are coming out in the next few months.
She is busy, y'all. See, I told you, she is phenomenal. I had to get her on the show. Phenomenal. Check her out. That's angelradcliffe.com. Her YouTube channel, Angel Radcliffe. And she can be on all social media platforms. She's on Clubhouse, y'all. I haven't been in Clubhouse in a minute. I need to get my Clubhouse game back up. That's MISSRMBA on all social media platforms. Check her out. She is epic. I want to say this to you publicly. Don't ever quit. We need you. We need what you're doing, and we need you to continue to coach. And so for those days, those moments where you're feeling low, don't ever quit. And please don't ever quit. We need you because you're changing the world, one household, one family, one youth at a time.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for those kind words.
Absolutely. And thank you, my audience, for tuning into Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I hope this message has served you. I hope this was helpful, and I hope this helps you take your business to the next level. And so, like I end every show, every show, take care of your friends, take care of your family, and always take care of business. This is Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. Miss Angel Radcliffe helping us take our personal and financial business to the next level. And we're signing off. Love you guys. Bye.